Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to answer for you guys the question of why we program linear progression with weight resets usually for novice lifters who are not being coached directly. Because I have all these free novice programs, and obviously thousands and thousands of people have run them, and hundreds of thousands of people out there probably run some of the various novice programs that are out there that all follow the same concept. However, when you are coaching someone, you don't actually do that. And a lot of people are not aware of that who've never actually had a coach or coached anyone or anything else. They don't realize that's not actually what you do with a novice in person always. We don't do the linear progression and then weight resets when you fail. It's actually fairly rare. You just assign weights. So the question becomes for a lot of people, why? To be perfectly honest, and this may even offend some people, it's because people are lazy. You actually have to program hard progression with linear progression where people start missing reps, and then weight resets because people are generally lazy. And if you don't believe me, go to any gym anywhere in the US or the world, watch men lift who are in there, and look how many guys who you talk to who believe that they squat perform the barbell squat. What is the average weight that you see used by men who have a year or more of training experience, other than maybe people who've now started running all these other programs? 1 plate per side. Not a pound or a kilo more or less. Exactly 1 full plate per side. So that would be 60 kilos if you live in a metric country, and it would be 135 pounds if you live in America. I saw this for years and years. And they truly believe that they are working hard because it still feels somewhat challenging. And when you ask them, have you ever tried to go heavier? They're like, no, I've been using the same weight for 3 years. The problem there is people like me who squat 550 who are trying to squat 600 pounds. Right? That's going to sound laughable. I mean, I'm standing there doing good mornings right there with 355 pounds. Not a squat, an actual good morning for rep work. They're not working hard. They believe they are. And do you know why? Because they saw other people do it, and no one ever bothered to tell them they should probably add another 5 pounds to the bar at some point. They might even eventually want to get to a second plate on there per side. Because how many of those same guys eventually bench 225? That's considered the milestone bro bench. You know, you can hit that 2 plate bench. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So, it's because they're lazy. And it's not that they're intentionally lazy. It's just that they don't know any better. They don't know any better. So we put systems like this in place to make them actually work hard. And what I want people to understand there, so that you understand from a deeper programming perspective why that is, there's no real difference. That extra 5 pounds at the end of the day, do you really think it's going to cause more growth? Very unlikely. In other words, if you have 270 pounds on the bar and you're doing 5 sets of 5 with it, and you're exploding with it as hard as you can, okay? You're exploding as hard as you can. Are you not hitting the upper threshold fibers? Of course you are. If you're approaching your 5 rep max, of course you are. Do you honestly think, from a stimulus and fatigue perspective, that the 5 extra pounds is actually going to cause more muscle growth? Do you really think that it's going to be that significant? No, not really. Do you know why? The bar is going to move a hair slower. When we're dealing with weight changes that small, when you're dealing with 270 pounds versus 275, unless it is an all-out max to where you might actually miss it because of the 5 pounds, it might be a fraction slower. A microsecond slower. Okay? You're probably not going to notice any real difference. And even a lot of my lifters, when they get fatigued on a 5 rep set like that and they terminate it early, they might have gotten it had they tried. And it comes down to quality reps versus rough tension, total muscle fiber recruitment, all these things. Okay? There's no real difference. As long as we're within that 10% window. That's about your margin of error as far as tension on the bar relative to things like bar speed, force exertion, reps in reserve. It's about a 10% window. In other words, going 90% produces the same muscle growth and adaptation that 100% does. Okay? That's been known for years. It's been known in observation. A true rate of perceived exertion 9 produces the same training response that a 10 does. What we are trying to do is push them up to that higher threshold. And if you don't make the novice lifter who doesn't understand what training hard actually is push against that window, they won't do it. So you give a system that forces them to, and then when they miss reps, then hopefully they're squatting and benching with safeties and stuff, they reduce the weight 10%. Why 10%? Why do all these novice programs written by coaches who have some background in exercise science do 10%? Because they exceeded 100% by a hair. We've now reduced it down to 90%. In other words, if you can't quite get the last rep on your 3x5 or 5x5, you've exceeded 100%. You might be at 102, 101%. If we reduce it by 10% and we take your 200 pounds and we reduce it to 180, what have we done? We've put you at 91%. We're within our 10% margin for error for training response and adaptation. Because we know that giving 90% effort produces the same results that 100% effort does. Now, that doesn't sound hardcore, and a lot of people say that's not true. You got to give 100%. Well, that's not actually what the research in elite athletes even shows. Not actually true. It just isn't. 100% lets you know that you didn't misjudge it. In other words, if you think you're at 90% and you're at 85% because you pushed out, okay, then it's a problem. And that's in terms of perceived effort, right? Perceived effort, how close you got to failure, how much of your max set was, everything else. If you fall short of 90%, you actually will get less results. But 90% effort produces the same muscle gains, same strength gains that 100% does. That's why even in the conjugate method, we want to get weights above 90% for max effort work. You see where we're going with this? So what we have done by taking people and making them add weight every single workout, no matter what, no matter how heavy it gets, they keep adding 5 pounds, keep adding 5 pounds, and when they fail, they reduce the weight 10%. And then repeat the process. It keeps them inside that 90% effort. And you can't keep that up indefinitely. And people need to understand that also. That sort of minimalist training, and minimalist doesn't mean the amount of training you do, it means to do with the exercise variation and things that you do. In other words, you might only be doing 5 exercises, 6 big exercises. That minimalist training, pushing that linear progression envelope like that, isn't sustainable in the long term. It's short-lived. It will build a tremendous base as quickly as possible. You will build a base very, very fast. This is the fastest way to build a strength and a muscle base. Eventually, though, you have to go to something else and it won't keep working. Another big mistake we see, almost worth its own video, when people keep trying to do novice programs when they are no longer a novice, and then they wonder why they stall, why they get injured, why they get hurt, why they pull stuff, why they burn out. That's why. It only works for your noob gains. but it does work. And it's because it keeps us in that 90% or higher effort. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.